to say, obviously anytime you beat the number one team in the country, it's special. And I've said it many times, these kids deserve to have something good happen to them. And, just watching the guy to my left here, KJ Scobey, is a true freshman, playing through the whole year, starting out every game basically, and just watching his growth as a player and seeing it now this last couple of weeks, he's really been swinging the bat great. He swung the bat well down at Auburn. The game-tying home run today in the ninth inning. Don't forget his sacrifice fly off of Newt when he came into the game. That was a huge swing, too. So Scope is just, he's developing into a really outstanding player, just like I thought he would. The guy to my right, Henry, I just couldn't believe what a great game he played. I know he hit the triple, and would you have 2 triples, I think? I can't believe that ball didn't get out of the ballpark that you hit. Head to the weight room after this press conference, okay? But then the great plays that he made as well. He just played a terrific game all around. It was just really an exciting night for South Carolina, for the Gamecocks, and for our players and staff. And, I was glad the fans got to enjoy a really good win as well.
KJ, first pitch swing on that. What were you kind of looking for there? And, what was your reaction when you saw that ball leave the yard?
Yeah, honestly, I was sitting on a changeup. I kind of assumed it was coming. He's been throwing it a lot first pitch, so I took a good swing on it and was able to get it out.
Henry, can you just take us through either your first triple, the one off Newt, who I think hadn't given up a hit at that point? Were you looking for anything there? And how big of a swing is that? Just kind of get your offense going?
Yeah, I wasn't really looking for anything. I just have the approach of staying on the heater. And fortunately, he left one up for me to hit, an off speed, so I was in a good position to hit it. And to get that spark and to get our offense going at that time was really special in tonight's game, and it's a big win for this program.
For either one of you guys, number one team in the country coming in, what does that do in terms of you guys' mindset and mentality? Does that give you a little extra juice to go out there and compete against, what they say is the best?
Yeah, I'd say definitely a little bit, but our opponents really don't matter. We're playing against the game and doing everything that we can control. Just making the plays and trying to get, the big hits going. And it doesn't really matter who we are playing. Fastball is a fastball, grounder is a grounder, no matter who the opponent is. So I feel like we really just took that to hand tonight and got the win.
Back here, Justin. KJ, after the last couple of weeks you guys have had in conference play, to have a game like this, to have the clutch hits like you've had, how much of a release is something like tonight?
Yeah, it's definitely a confidence builder going into the rest of the season and going to the SEC tournament. So it just kind of gets going on the right track, and glad we got a win there.
Did you guys think Jace had the speed for a triple there?
He was hauling. I heard a couple guys in the dugout say unhook the trailer, but we're all happy he got there. I thought it was going to leave the yard at the start. It stayed fair, but we were fortunate that he was able to hustle that triple out for us. So awesome, thank you.
Just obviously, you say it's about the kids, but just personally, can you take us through kind of like Noah's question, what a release that is for you, just getting a win like that after the kind of season you've had here?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of tough breaks. Some of them was our own doing all year. But then, Jared Johns makes an unbelievable play on the ball that Nate Hall hits, and you're kind of saying to yourself, goodness gracious, can't we get one little break here? Couldn't the ball just been a foot further out? And then the game would have been over. But, baseball's a hard game. I've said this so many times, sometimes it almost looks like players aren't trying, but they really are. It's just a really tough game. And it's hard to win college baseball games. I've known this forever. I've been around so long, and and I've never taken anything for granted. You got to go out there and earn everything that you get, and you got to get the best possible team put together. You got to coach them right. You got to motivate them, and then they got to go out there and they got to perform, and you got to get some breaks along the way. It's hard to win games, and but anything's possible. And today we didn't give up. Scobey, of course, comes through, but he, his hit was, obviously a major part of the game. But there were a lot of guys that battled so hard tonight. I thought Crowther, pitched, his heart out, and then Brandon Stone did as well. He hung a couple of 0-2 breaking balls and gave up hits. But in typical Brandon Stone fashion, when I just saw him after the game, and I was talking to him about how he's got to bury that 0-2 pitch, he goes, hey, at least they didn't leave the ballpark like they usually do when I hang those 0-2 curveballs. They were only singles. Okay, how do you argue with that, right? So, but, a lot of guys did a lot of great things tonight, and, it was a wonderful win for our program, for the city, for the team, for all of our fans, and it really was. It was a special night for us all.
You like a 3-0 green light, and Jace hit that triple with that. Did you tell him to swing? Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a 3-0 pitch, and I gave him an emphatic green light. I thought he might hit one out to end the game right there, and we were starting to get towards the bottom of our lineup too. So. I thought back to the first 2 innings of the game. We got 5 free passes with nobody out and scored 1 run with 5 guys getting on base with nobody out via the walk or hit batter. Somebody has to eventually hit the ball to get you, well, unless they throw a wild pitch to end the game, I guess. But, you hate to count on that. You need to hit your way to victory. And, I just thought Jace had the best chance. He might, with 1 swing, could have ended the game, and it almost did. When he hit it, I really did. I thought it had a chance. And then we got a lucky kick off the wall, which allowed him to get the triple, which, obviously was huge. So, yeah, it was an enjoyable night. And tomorrow the game will start, and it'll be 0-0 all over again.
Television culture reaction as the run was scored. They kind of zoomed in on you. And there was no reaction. I mean, you watched it, and then you shook hands with a couple of your assistant coaches and walked out of the dugout. Is that kind of typical for you? I mean, or were you holding it more inside?
When I was a young coach, I was like, jumping with every pitch. You know what I mean? But as the years have passed, I've learned to control my outer emotions a little bit more. And, I was excited. I was very happy for our players and for our team. But I also know there's 2 more games this weekend too. Let the kids celebrate. They had a wonderful celebration out there, and I was just kind of soaking it all in, if you know what I mean. I didn't want to be jumping around like a 18 to 22-year-old. I wanted to just kind of absorb it all, and it was a wonderful win for our kids. I was so happy for them, but it's just not my nature anymore. I haven't for years, been a big jumper around and doing those kind of things. It's all about the kids as far as I'm concerned.
Paul, you moved the guys around in the lineup a lot this year, but putting Nate in the 2-hole, Henry in the 3-hole, what did you kind of like about the way that looked tonight? And then obviously it led to the results you guys got.
Well, I just didn't want to stack the lefties together. If I would have, with Petrie out, if we would have, let me think this out a little bit, okay? With Petrie out, I wanted to play Blake Jackson, which I typically don't against lefties. So if I would have left Henry in the 2-hole, then I would have had 2 lefties there. And besides the starting pitcher, I knew they had DJ Primo in the bullpen and Williams in the bullpen. And I just thought it would have made it easy for them, at some point during the game. So that's why I put a right-handed hitter in between there. But I kind of like the way it looked, to be honest with you. Blake is... he doesn't, get a lot of hits, but somehow he's like a magnet to pitches that hit him, and he draws walks and gets on base, And Henry had a great game batting 3-hole there, clutch hits. So, yeah, without Petrie, you're just trying to use some imagination to try to, create situations that you think might happen later in the game and put yourself in the best possible position. For a while there, it wasn't working. At one point, I was just worried about us getting no hit tonight. And by the way, whoever the scorekeeper is, I thought that you did a wonderful job the way you did. Was that you, Kent? That ball that Nathan Hall hit, at that point in the game, the first hit has to be a clean hit, with a no-hitter going. And so I totally understood, But then did you go back later and change it? Yeah. And I think once the no-hitter was taken away, then I think the scoring of it was the correct scoring, So I didn't know you were the scorekeeper, but I just thought that was really professional the way that was done, So was there a question there? I didn't hear a question.
I got it. You talked yesterday about moving some pitching around to get ready for Tuesday at the SEC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is that why Brandon Stone didn't start tonight, and 2, 73 pitches out of the bullpen? Is he still going to be, full go on Tuesday with that?
Well, I would hope Brandon will be ready to go with 4 days rest. He's a horse. He really is. I mean, he could throw all day long. But I thought Ashton did a really good job. And no, I didn't start Ashton because of trying to save Brandon. I was hoping Ashton could give us 5 or 6 innings and Brandon only'd have to pitch 3. But he got to, when I went out to the mound, I don't know that I've ever seen a pitcher so profusely perspiring as Ashton was. It must have been really humid out there because he was sweating buckets. And at that point, he was having trouble getting a grip on the ball because his hands were so sweaty. Plus, he was at about the 80 pitch mark, which is the most he's thrown all year. So, I just felt it was the right time to make the move. We had a were we losing at the time, I think? 2-1? Yeah, I think we were. But even though we were losing, it was early in the game, and I thought, hey, it's our chance, if we can hold them to have a chance to win the game. So typically you don't bring in your top reliever when you're losing, but only a 1-run deficit, and it was early enough in the game. And I thought Brandon did a terrific job. And then, Becker came in and got a big out for us there at the end. So a great win.
Just checking on Petrie. Any hope that he might play one of the next 2 games?
No chance. That's the shortest answer I've ever given.
Anything else, Coach?
See you.